Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andy.
And this week, we are going to be doing another double dose of movie reviewing, something we tried last week and kind of enjoyed. So I'm not going to say it's going to become the regular, but it might become more frequent.
Yeah.
So it's particularly helpful on weeks like this where there's actually more than one movie that we're excited to see.
Yeah.
And this week, there were several movies that we were anxious to see. We both got to, we overlapped two of them.
I dropped the ball on the last one. That was on me.
We'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to start off with a conversation about the new A24 movie, Death of a Unicorn.
Yeah.
And Death of a Unicorn is a movie that I started to write a summary for, and I said, you know what? I'll wing it because I don't know what to write. So the very
you could just throw a bunch of random words in a hat and pull them out, and that would be your summary.
Yeah, but no, like the very basics of this movie is that Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd are two stars in the movie. Star as a father and daughter. They're going on this work trip for Paul Rudd's character, where he's going to see, I guess, what is his boss, but he's looking for this promotion type thing.
Yeah,
they're rich people. They live out in the middle of nowhere in this nature preservation thing. And on the way, they hit something in their car, and lo and behold, it's a unicorn.
Yeah.
And then they try to conceal it at first, that's what they did. It comes to light that's what happened. And the rich people decide, hey, this unicorns are known to have like healing properties. And the dad of the family is like deathly sick with cancer. It ends up healing him. And then, of course, they go, we can make a lot of money off of this. So they want to... What do you call it? They want to like take
exploit,
all the elements of this unicorn. They just want to mine it for all its goodness, and that leads to more unicorns coming to reclaim the body and terrorize these people. Yeah, that's basically the plot of the movie.
I don't know how you could do any better than that.
I mean, all told mostly through the eyes of the Jenna Ortega character, who of course is our stand-in for just good normal people.
Yeah.
So that's my best attempt at a summary.
Sure.
Andy, I'm going to throw it to you. Was Death of a Unicorn good?
No. No, it really wasn't. Thank goodness that they had Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega in this movie, and Will Poulter, who we'll get to, I'm sure. But it's like that, like Jenna Ortega is just good, in my opinion. Like, she's a good actress. Paul Rudd, I have a lot of comments about the writing of his character, but like Paul Rudd is a presence. But no, this was really stupid.
Andy, I really thought, I wonder if this is going to be the week that we disagree.
Yeah.
I wonder if Andy's going to like this movie. And I was like, he might. This might be a movie that Andy likes. It's got some weirdness to it.
Yeah.
But I arrived also at, no,
it's just stupid. And it's just like, okay, you can have these goofy ideas. That's fine. I like weird and goofy stuff, but it's like, this just is like, to me, it's like three in a row, not three like consecutive, but like this is in the same family as like Cocaine Bear or Y2K, where it's like this wacky idea, especially like Cocaine Bear, but it's like, it just stops at the idea. It's like you come up with some wacky, it's like bear on cocaine, crazy unicorn family. But then it's like, it never goes any farther than just the idea. But then it's like, oh yeah, now we have to make an hour and 45-minute long movie. And we just have nothing. And I just thought this was a terribly written and structured movie.
Yeah. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, Andy.
I will
I don't know. Maybe I won't get too fired up. But when I was thinking about this movie, I did get a little fired up. And here's my rant. It's about A24. So A24 has been one of our best movie studios for about a decade now. They started in 2012, and they're known for making really like original, creative, even odd projects. Like they give artists the freedom to make these low budget but original stories that we often champion on here. Yeah. The thing is, after about a decade of A24 movies, there started to be, through all this originality, sort of a commonality. And to the point where you can kind of identify an A24 movie and the characteristics of an A24 movie. And I was watching this and I said, this movie is the most A24 movie that I've ever seen. If somebody were to say, what does it mean for a movie to be A24? I'd be like, just watch Death of a Unicorn. Yeah. It's got all of the elements. So in this movie that should be original, I mean, it's off the walls, you know, it's bizarre. It's got unicorns.
Right.
But it does everything that A24 does all the time. It takes kind of a weird concept and like, we're going to take this weird concept seriously, but then actually all the human characters are going to be really goofy and eccentric and weird, and it's going to be tonally like everything. It's going to be a soup of every kind of genre that you can't. And ultimately, what it is just it's become like its own A24 genre. And I was watching it and I go, oh my gosh, this makes me nervous. I am tired of A24 and that commonality. I'm tired of the soup that they have. Yeah. I'm tired of watching going like, I've seen this now. It no longer feels original. And it makes me sad. It makes me upset because I'm a big A24 guy. It used to be when A24 pops up, I go,
going to see it.
Yeah, I'm going to see something unique and original, and they're all unique and original somehow in the same way.
They're not unique and original.
If this movie came out 10 years ago, maybe I'd feel totally different about it. But it didn't. It came out now after 10 years of history with this studio, and I'm going, it just feels like everything else this studio has produced, and the originality's gone.
Amen. Pod over. See you guys next week. Yeah, it's so frustrating because it's like, I always say on here, like, I never want to end up like contradicting myself from previous episodes. So we're always like, this was so just blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, unicorns and all this stuff. And it's like, it should sound so original and quirky and fun. But I'm going to say Cocaine Bear on here a lot because it's the same thing where it's like, I'm watching this movie that's just supposed to be like, this is just the craziest fun you'll like. I think on the poster, like it had a snippet of a review and it's like, this is like Jurassic Park on drugs. And you're sitting there going like, no, this is, these movies like this are like Y2K, which kind of in this family, it's like, they're supposed to be like these fun, quirky, like smaller movies. And they're not fun or quirky. It's like, they're just dull and boring. And I'm like, okay, like, come on. Like, I was just so ready for this movie to wrap it up.
Yeah, there wasn't one beat in this movie that surprised me.
No.
And you would think a movie about freaking unicorns that's like a horror comedy about unicorns would have something that's going to surprise you.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing was... It all also, even like the characters, who you could tell they thought like, we're being so funny and like we're satirizing, like we're being satirical about like just the richest, most awful people. And I feel like I've seen that in movies before and it's been much funnier.
Yeah, and I meant to include that's another part of A24 DNA, or maybe just modern movies is, yes, in a movie about like scary monster unicorns terrorizing people,
monsters are the humans.
Actual monsters are rich people.
We've seen that so many times.
Like, find a new concept. We get it. Rich people are bad.
And they just drive that point home the entire movie.
Yes.
And here's my other biggest complaint about this movie, and this is going to be a ridiculous sentence.
I can't wait.
It did a terrible job. Like, it did a terrible job with the actual unicorns. Like, I don't know. Let me think of how to articulate this. I was so annoyed this whole movie, like, the unicorns, all they want is to get I guess it was their baby, and this are the parents. They don't establish that very well, I don't think. Like, everything they did unicorn related, I just thought was kind of like an unfocused mess. And like every character's like, no, they're going to do this. No, they're going to do this. Like, everyone had their own theories, and you never got any kind of like, what do these unicorns do? What are their motivations? What are their powers? Like, again, it's ridiculous for me to say, but I was just left to like, I was like, okay, I don't care if you make a movie about unicorns, a horror movie, go for it. But I want to understand a little bit about these unicorns and what are they doing. Their power, like I said, their powers, everything was just kind of, they didn't do anything with it. It was like they kind of just prance around for a while and walk around. Then all of a sudden they'll just maul someone to death. And then they kind of disappear for a while. That was all over the place, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought that was an unfocused mess.
I guess I hadn't really even thought about that aspect of it, that you're probably right.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't know, the unicorn stuff was it was boring and unfocused, I thought.
I'll say a couple positives about the movie now, just because there were some
positives.
positives.
Do a couple positives, yeah.
So I did think that what everybody wants to see in this movie is some fun unicorns killing people scenes. There was some of that.
There was
like,
some.
Were, a couple of those scenes I was like, this is what the movie's supposed to be.
Here for,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought they did good with some of that. I thought the effects and the look of it was pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
And then you already referenced it, but like the people in this movie, I think did the best with what they
Yeah.
had. Let's go. I'll just go ahead and say this. Will Poulter, he steals the movie.
Dude,
He is the one
he's just cooking.
Yeah,
He
comes
is so
out the
good at
best.
being a douchebag in this movie, and a stupid one at that.
Yes.
He's awesome.
He's so good. Like it's really the only character that I'm going, I see why somebody wanted to play this. Now, I guess like T. Leone is a little bit lesser version of him. Like she was
Yeah.
having some fun, but yeah.
Will Poulter just
but Will
is,
Poulter is
blowing everyone off the screen in his parts.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've done kind of a complete 180 on that actor. Like, I don't know what it was. It's probably just something about the look of him. Like when he first started showing up in movies, it's like I don't really care for this guy.
Yeah.
And
The first thing I remember him in is what's the We're the Millers,
yeah,
and I was like, okay, like
and he was fine in
he's
that.
pretty good at being the doofus.
He was in. I think he might have played kind of like the unlikable jerk character in one of those like Maze Runner type movies
Did
or
he?
something. I don't.
Yeah.
I could be messing that up. So sorry, because I don't really watch him. I just see like clips and
Right.
bits. But anyways, then he was. What really started to turn it for me was weirdly enough Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Yeah.
where he was just so like goofy and
so
funny.
willing to be goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in like a different, I guess, so he was too in We're the Millers, but like.
It was
I don't know.
different.
It was different. Yeah.
Yeah. And he plays dumb really, really good.
Because I guess here's the difference. Like in We're the Millers, I'm like, he just seems like this goofy,
He's a
dumb kid.
doofus, yeah.
Whereas in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it's like, he shows up and he looks like he's going to be like this really cool, like he's buff.
He's
and
ripped,
you're like-
but he's just an idiot.
And then he plays the idiot. It's like, okay, like he's just having fun and doing this by choice. Not because that's the one pitch he has. Right. And he kind of continues that in this movie. He's
funny.
really enjoyable.
He's
like
funny.
His line deliveries were hysterical.
And it really felt like they let him improv a lot. I don't know if they did or not, but it just kind of felt that way. And if like he's just really he pulls that off really well.
And it's the small moments. It's the
little stuff.
It's the
like a look or a
I think the moment I actually did laugh out loud was when they're running from the unicorns to the house and he finds his bow. He sees it, he goes, "Oh, he did have his bow. Well, now I feel bad." Like,
yeah,
it's just
really funny.
Like if anybody hears me say that line without context, they're like, "That's not funny at all." But if you see him,
Will
deliver
Poulter doing it is funny.
Yes,
yeah,
because he does this whole spiel about how he can't go on the hunt because he doesn't have his bow.
He was really funny.
So he was really good. The flip side of this is not that I think Paul Rudd was bad, given what he had to do, but I think this is maybe the worst use of Rudd I've ever seen in a movie.
I agree completely. And I don't want to see Paul Rudd be this kind of just bumbling, mopey, like it's just not what I want to see from Paul Rudd.
So I'll just smile like that because you used the word bumbling. My note was, could have been about 90% less bumbling idiot.
Yeah. One thing that just drove me nuts in this movie is like there are so many scenes. I feel like there was 100 scenes of Jenna Ortega coming up to him and being like, "Dad, look what I figured out, and here's what we need to do." Oh, it's okay. And he just blows her off, and it's like I just felt like that happened over and over and over in this movie until the point where you'd be like, I kind of want someone to punch Paul Rudd in the face.
That's really the thing is,
and his whole thing is just how likable he is.
Right, exactly. Why do you get the most likable guy in the world to play his part? And I guess it's because you need him to be that and still root for him. But I was like, it's weird that I'm not rooting for Paul Rudd.
I wasn't rooting for him at all. And then he finally comes around, and but it's by that
like
point I was
too
like,
late.
Too late, man. Sorry. And I don't really fault. It's not like Paul Rudd gave a bad performance in this movie.
Right.
It's the writing.
Yes. And it's what's become a common theme. Maybe it's going to be like the theme of the year or something. I don't know if there's always going to be themes of the year, but it's going to be that a little bit of heart goes a long way.
Yeah.
And we talk about it, the movies that find these little bits of heart, even movies you wouldn't expect, Hard Eyes and Novocaine.
Yeah.
And this movie, it's like you've got these characters, this father and daughter, two very likable actors.
Yeah.
They're coming off of a tragedy they only allude to a little bit, that the mom has died of some illness. And, they're trying to make it work together, and they really care about each other. And somehow you never make me care about their relationship.
Nope.
Honestly, the best effort of that was the very first scene of the movie where they're on the plane and she falls asleep on his shoulder and he doesn't want to disturb her, and he's getting the paper.
And it's like, oh.
And you're like, there's a little bit of sweetness there. That's the height that they reach of their relationship. Yeah. It's all downhill.
And the rest of it is, it's like, dude, just listen to your kid. Like, she's pouring her heart out to you, and They run so far with the like, I just want to impress these people so I can set us up for life. And that's fine. But yeah, you just don't root for Paul Rudd at all. And like, you're just conditioned as a movie person. You see Paul Rudd, you're like, love this guy. And for him to just not be that way in this movie was just a big mistake. If that's the case, then like, just don't cast him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really disappointing.
Yeah. Boy, who cares about spoilers at this point? But I guess I'll give a little spoiler warning to talk about some of the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
As we get to that. So spoiler warning has been issued. So we talked about, or I mentioned some of the deaths being some of the more satisfying scenes in the movie. You always feel morbid saying that, but that's what you're going to see with a monster movie with unicorns. Is how a unicorn's going to kill people.
Yep.
I thought this is like, if I was given a note on this movie, my note would be the dad character from the rich family should have had the death that the lady scientist had. Well, the lady scientist. I was like, I thought this was going to happen. He had the unicorns coming on both sides of him. He's trying to touch the horn. You know it's about to go bad, and I'm like, they're about to both impale him in rib shreds, and instead it's just the quick boom up the, and it's like, this is like the primary guy you want to see get it.
And then that lady who's likable just gets mauled to death.
Yes.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, you got those backwards.
You got them backwards.
But it's I don't know. I feel like it's a weird complaint to have in a movie full of like complaints.
I
but
couldn't agree with you more.
I was like, the one thing you've done is you've built up how unlikable this dude is, and the one thing I want to see,
he kind of got off easy.
Yeah,
really.
the one thing I want to see is him get his comeuppance
because they really took the time to let Tia Leone get hers.
Yeah,
I mean that,
and I will say you also know that a death like that is coming because you know in a movie like this when they show the daughter's learning all her information from these paintings or something or whatever they're called. Tapestries.
No movie has ever used the word tapestry more in history.
That's true. But in the tapestries, you see the different pictures depicting it, and you're going to be like, and you see that as a movie you're going, different characters are going to die in the way portrayed. So when one of them is like a person with their guts out.
You knew that's coming.
You know it's going to happen, and then it happens.
It should have been the dude.
And, but it was pretty fun when it happened. And again, great Will Poulter during that scene.
Oh my gosh, he's great. He's going to shoot, and he's like, nah. He just runs. And really, the movie had set it up too, where like I wanted, like Will Poulter should have had some ridiculously long, drawn out like death and stuff, and that was kind of just a dud too. But that's part of what I mean too when I'm complaining about the unicorns. So you got these tapestries. So you got like Jenna Ortega thinks this, and these people think this, and you just never got any sense of what these unicorns are doing. All leading up to the. And it's like there's too many like half-baked ideas in this movie where it's like you grab the horn and you kind of see the afterlife, but they don't like that's fine. If that's what you want your movie to be.
They show you like zooming through the cosmos, but then the characters describe something totally different. You're like, so why are you showing me the zoom?
Why are you showing me this cosmos thing? And it's like they allude to like mom is waiting over here for us. Okay, then show me mom waiting for us. They start a bunch of stuff and then they just abandon it, and that's just always annoying to me in a movie.
Yeah, not to mention Paul Rudd's death, where you're finally getting like the emotional catharsis. Are you supposed to be?
It's too late. Like you just don't care.
And also, like, did you ever for 1 second think that Paul Rudd was going to stay dead?
No,
I didn't either.
And I think the filmmakers must know too, because that all happens in such a compressed amount of time. So
then we get when the unicorns heal. This is maybe the most like. They're just kind of like, screw it, we'll just do whatever at this point.
Yeah.
I actually thought my favorite thing about the unicorn design was that they were like black and scary. Mm-hmm. Right? Like they're...
Yeah.
And then when they decided to heal Paul Rudd, because I guess they decided that he was magical. By the way, they were also chasing everyone and trying to kill everyone who had like participated in the mutilation of the baby. Right. And Paul Rudd's running with that horn and the thing's chasing him. And then it just cuts to, hey, it's with Paul Rudd now.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason to explain that. There is no possible explanation. So they're just like, we'll just cut and then come back to it's done.
And that's what I'm trying to say when I'm like, there was no like straight line story about these unicorns.
Yeah.
Like who they're against, who they're with. Like that was just all over the place. And so it's just like, this movie is called Death of a Unicorn. This movie is about unicorns. But I still don't understand anything about the unicorns.
Yeah. So they drag Paul Rudd's carcass over next to the baby unicorn and the mom and dad unicorn, as you kind of have to figure out on your own, rub their horns together.
And
create this dark cloud that then heals everything and
then they
turns all
just
the
run off.
unicorns white. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh.
Like, what? And then they just
Electricity,
run off.
cloud, heal, white, gone.
Yeah, and then they just leave. And so you're like, I guess maybe my whole thing too is like, if you're, I don't care what your movie's about, if it's about unicorns or if it's a rom-com or if it's whatever. If I feel like the writer and director was just like, I don't know, just then I'm 99% of the time I'm checking out.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this was your idea. And it just feels like you were like, I don't know, just some stuff. And then they rub their horns together and some weird, like you said, little tornado-y thing. And then they just run off. Like, okay, if you don't care, I don't care.
So the interesting thing about that is, after reading the trivia, the writer and director, same guy, wrote and directed this, Alex Schlarfman.
Sure.
Scharfman is such the appropriate last name for a guy who wrote and directed this movie.
Right.
But apparently he was like very passionate about like the story and his obsession with this. Apparently he did like lots of research. Was like, this has to be the story.
Okay, but it doesn't show, in my opinion.
I know, I'm with you. The studio execs asked him like, okay, you're making this movie about unicorns that, you know, become monsters and hunt people. Why can't it just be 4 friends hunting in the woods and they accidentally kill a unicorn? And he said, no, it has to be this story about like the relationships to encompass like the whole thing about unicorns and their magic and mystery. And I'm like, dude, you are way over-aggrandizing what's going on here.
Yeah. Like,
what you're describing is not the masterpiece that you
think it is.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And yeah, it's kind of disappointing. I also want to throw out there to lesser known actor, but the people who watched the show. Oh crap! What's it called? The Bill Hader assassin show that was on.
It's like a name.
Yeah, it is. Why am I blanking on it?
Barry.
People who watch Barry will recognize actor Anthony Carrigan, who plays Griff in this movie, like the butler.
Yeah, he's good.
And he's so funny in Barry. He's so good. He's like the guy who steals every scene he's in Barry. And when he popped in this movie, it's like, what a perfect guy to be in a movie like this.
Yeah.
And then they give him so little to do.
Yeah. The only time he got to shine even a little bit is when they're like, let's draw straws to who goes and fixes the gate. And he's like, what? Like you can see some glimpses there, but it doesn't lead to anything.
They didn't give him much anything to do.
And so then at the end, he just shows up with the police, and Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega are like, oh crap, this looks like we did it. And you're like, wasn't this guy like speak up for you guys? They like that was clunky too, I thought.
Yeah,
and it was by that point I was like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
That
was a really lame finish of it's gonna look like we did it because there's other survivor. There's numerous bits of evidence all around there, like the whole medical facility where they took all of the samples and have all the data.
Purple unicorn blood everywhere.
And you're not going to tell me there's not security cameras anywhere on this rich family.
So that didn't work at all.
Yeah.
And again, like I don't know if they were wanting you to be like, oh no, like Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega. I was like, this is stupid and I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for this week's version of my favorite bit of trivia from the IMDb trivia. And this one goes like this. John Carpenter was originally going to score the film. Did you read this?
Yes.
I love this. According to writer and director Alex Scharfman, he revealed John was going to do the score for the movie. John and his films are a major influence on me as a filmmaker, and more specifically on this movie. Sure, John's excited to hear that. He's just a major hero of mine. That's why I sent him the script and wrote him a letter to ask him if he would jump on, and he very graciously wanted to do it. Then, as we advanced through the movie, it revealed itself that the movie wanted a different sonic palette than a lot of what John does with synth, guitar, and drums. It's great, and I love it, but the movie was asking for a more organic sound and a more varied kind of soundscape. So it became a question of, well, how do we get to the place that the movie is asking for the score to go? You can totally feel his fingerprints as a storyteller on this movie, and even the score that's in the movie still has moments with the Carpenter feeling that I love so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why not only do you not meet your heroes, you don't ask to work with your heroes, because what do you say when you ask your hero to score your movie and then you don't like his score?
Yeah.
You say, the movie is just, I feel like the movie's asking for something else.
I feel like this guy is coming across as so unlikable. I'm like, buddy, you didn't just direct Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Like, chill out. Like, this dude, this movie is, it's like one of these things where, like, this movie is not as fraction as good as you think it is, dude.
Yeah. I don't think the issue is that John Carpenter just couldn't grasp your grand vision and score it appropriately.
Yeah, like the guy that directed like Halloween and the Thing, and like John Carpenter's done some movies I really, really like. It's like, dude, his worst movie is probably better than this movie, so you might want to chill out a little bit.
Yeah, but it just still is funny to me because I don't know. Obviously we didn't get to hear John Carpenter's score, but I wonder what it sounded like that this dude was like, oh man, I was so excited for a Carpenter, and now that I've got one, I'm like, it's not the Carpenter I like. It did remind me of the bit of trivia that actually inspired this whole bit that I'm doing on it, because my favorite bit of trivia ever is from the movie Out of the Furnace. Out of the Furnace was a movie starring Christian Bale, and Casey Affleck and Woody Harrelson. And in the trivia of that movie, I'm just quote this directly here. Eddie Vedder, lead singer of Pearl Jam, wrote several songs for the film, but co-writer and director Scott Cooper thought they were too perfect and powerful, which could pull the audience out of the story, so they mutually decided to leave them out of the film and unreleased. They ended up using throughout the movie a lot of the song Release from Pearl Jam's famous 10 album. Yeah. And I read that and I said, boy, that isn't like the most obvious lie I've ever heard in my life. That is, I commissioned Eddie Vedder and I didn't like the songs he did. And I said, ooh, I was really more thinking the Eddie Vedder who wrote like Release. You know what? Let's just use Release. Yeah. And these songs, they're so good, Eddie.
You did so too good.
You're going to ruin my movie because no one's going to care about the movie. It's so good. Yeah. So we're going to go another direction.
And then the second Eddie Vedder turns around, the guy's like, no. Yeah.
Yeah. And Eddie definitely mutually agreed to he wrote songs so perfect.
You're like, you're right. I did
they can never be released. We got to bury these so that they're never so good that it ruins humanity with how good they are. Nothing will be good again.
All of this just proving our point that we've talked about before, where celebrities are just the weirdest, most self-centered, egotistical, have no idea what the real world is like. People who have ever walked the earth. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's made me realize if I ever, which I won't, but if I ever find myself making a movie, if there's somebody whose work I love, only ever ask to commission the work I already know I love. Don't ask for something new.
Right.
Don't do it.
Is that what you're going to do when you fire me from this podcast? You're going to be like, Andy, you're too perfect for this podcast. I cannot have you on here anymore. You're too perfect.
That's exactly what I would say if I ever was going to fire you, but I wouldn't because, Andy, you are actually perfect.
Oh, no. Did I just get fired?
No.
What do you think of Jenna Ortega?
So Jenna Ortega, I'm with you. She's always likable. She was on our, people were watching list. We're buying her stock because she's really good. And she was good in this, but just didn't really, what did she have to do? Kind of be annoying,
little emo, but not completely, and sad about her mom, but only sometimes.
A little too right as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, she's the stand-in for this is a movie about rich people are bad. Her dad, who's trying to cater to rich people, is also bad. But she's pure and good because she's opposite of all of that. Yeah. And it just made for kind of an uninteresting character. Honestly, the conflict in this movie was so surface level in every way.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make a deeper unicorn movie, you need the conflict to be a little less just blatant and obvious.
Less in your face.
Yes. Yeah. And it wasn't.
Yeah. I don't fault her. It's like with Rudd. I fault the writing because I think she just has I'm just a big Scream guy and I love Scream 5 and 6. I think she's just great in those. And this is another movie where you're she's got the presence. And she can really pull off, more so in Scream, it's she can pull off where it's she can cry and she can do all the things, but it's you do kind of buy her as a little bit of a BA, and she's this really short, small person, but she does pull it off. Again, to pick on the writing, I thought it was such a weird beat in this movie where she's all we've got to do is take the baby unicorn out and everything will be fine. And they do, and then they maul that girl to death. And she's like, oh, I was wrong. And everyone's just okay. I just thought that was so Okay, well, that just all led to nothing and kind of just made everyone in the movie look like an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to crap all over this guy. I just did not think this was a well-written movie at all.
Yeah, I do think with that one, it was meant to imply that because several people were still holding things back.
I guess,
that,
but
like,
it didn't. I don't know. It didn't come across very well to me. I just felt like it was clunky.
Certainly nothing in this, like, in any way changes, I think, our feeling about Jenna Ortega going forward.
No,
anything like that.
I still think she's going to be
I
just
did see a little clip of an interview with Paul Rudd talking about working with Jenna Ortega, and he was just talking about how she is just the coolest.
Yeah.
Like, everybody, that's kind of, he was saying, like, that's everybody's experience is, like, Jenna's just really cool.
Yeah.
And fun to work with and pulls things off so easily. And I'm like, that sounds about right. She strikes me as that type of person that probably just, like, walks on the set and just effortlessly like has that presence.
Oh yeah, it doesn't make me go, ooh, I don't know about that Jenna Ortega stock.
Yeah. So definitely don't have a lot of Scharfman stock going forward.
No, I sure don't. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Good try, but this is just not a very good movie.
And hey, listen, like you can have a bomb your first time out, and then,
I'm not
and
saying
spare
like
yourself.
I'm done with this guy.
My favorite director made Alien 3 as his first movie, so
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
And as much as I railed on A24 a little bit at the beginning, it's not like I'm totally out on A24.
You're right, though. You made a great point.
I'm just a little more dubious now with
Well,
A24.
it's like you want to kind of pull, like, if A24 was a person, just pull them aside and be like, hey, man, like, we get it.
Yeah.
We know what you can do. Maybe it's time to try something a little different.
Well, and maybe, a telling thing is that the Thunderbolts, which apparently there's kind of like a little back and forth jab thing going on between Marvel and A24 with previews. I can't remember what A24 movie I saw a preview for yesterday, but they had a joke about Marvel in the preview, and then Marvel Thunderbolts did a A24 style preview for Thunderbolts, kind of spoofing like how every A24's.
It's really funny,
and it is funny, and it's one of those things that points out that like, oh, A24 kind of does have a style, like that.
I saw
is
that
very
trailer, I was like,
recognizable.
what? This is hilarious.
Yeah, and so it's not just me. People are starting to recognize, like, A24 for all your originality. There's a through line of commonality that's just.
By the way, if Marvel wants to start throwing punches back at people, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
Marvel's pretty willing to just be a punching bag.
Yeah,
like fight back a little bit, Marvel. That may make you more interesting.
Yeah, I'm ready for petty Marvel. I'll take it.
Bring it on.
And I'm looking more and more forward to Thunderbolts.
Dude, that trailer was hilarious.
Yeah,
where it's like from the editor of da 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 da, from the sound mixer of da da da. I was like, this is funny.
And they really, again, that preview kind of highlight the quirkiness that A24 movies do. It's like a bit of serious, but a bit of weird, but a bit of comedy, but a bit of
they
all
nailed
over the place.
that. They nailed it.
Yeah, for sure. So Death of a Unicorn, a little bit of a disappointment.
I mean, it's not going to be my worst movie of the year.
No, it's not. And honestly,
it was just kind of like, well, this is just not much of anything.
It's a movie that I'll be curious to see by the end of the year how I look back on it.
Me too.
Odds are it'd be mostly kind of indifference.
I think that's what I'll be too.
But I think it's possible its fondness will grow because I might just remember the good thing. I might look back and remember some of the funny Will Poulter parts and the funny unicorn kills and just be like, there was some good stuff there.
Yeah.
And then that can happen over time where you get over the disappointment of a movie and you
kind of
forget about the
soften
bad,
a little bit.
and you go like, there's the fact that there's a handful of good things, you just sort of take that.
Does make me definitely want to see Will Poulter be in some kind of funny role again, soon. Yeah.
I'd say of all the people in this movie, he came out the best.
Probably. Yeah, because it probably kind of raised how I feel about him. Yes. Whereas I still like Paul Rudd, I still like Jenna Ortega, but now I'm more like, Will Poulter, like funny dude.
Yeah, really funny. All right. Well, that
you have not asked the most important question.
Oh my gosh, did I almost just get by without asking the most important question?
You did.
Andy, where should Uncle Chip have been in Death of a Unicorn?
So here's what I think should have happened. I think you should cross the universes a little bit, and Uncle Chip should be Uncle Chip from the Monkey on his camping trip in which he gets trampled. But it's like, it just happens like Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega are talking like on the deck, and then in the background in the woods you just see Uncle Chip get trampled to death.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really funny.
Or the night scene when Will Poulter's in the hot tub talking to him and they hear the sounds
Yeah.
out in the woods.
Yep.
It just cuts to Uncle Chip in a sleeping
Yep,
bag.
that's where I think.
You nailed it. I'm not even going to try
Thank you.
to come up with a different answer.
That's
than
where I
that,
want to see
'cause
Uncle
that's
Chip.
the right answer.
Yeah.
Nicely done, Andy. I can't believe I almost missed that.
It's probably not normal how much time I spend thinking about the Uncle Chip question for every movie we do.
I think we're probably definitely the only podcast that's carrying this torch of talking about Uncle Chip every episode.
I'm proud to do it, and I will continue to carry the torch.
Yeah. I think at some point Oz Perkins should come in and acknowledge how much shine we're giving to his
I
performance.
would love to have
as
Oz
Uncle
Perkins
Chip
here to talk to him.
and just ask him where he would put Uncle Chip in various movies.
That would be so funny.
So Osgood Perkins, if you're listening, which you're not, but if this finds its way to you,
Get in touch with us.
we want to have you on, and we're just going to throw out different movies. Say, where would you put Uncle Chip in this movie? And we want to hear your take.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody for tuning in to this episode.
Yeah.
And we're going to be recording another one in just a few minutes.
We're gonna be back
so
really
you'll see us
soon.
very soon. But until then, we'll see you next time.
See ya.